top-ranked UFC bantamweight Cody Stamann. What's going on, Cody? How you feeling today?
Feeling good, feeling fat after finding out I'm not fighting again. I got into some ice cream last night.
What are you doing? Are you doing a bucket or what's going on with the ice cream?
I actually ate like Halo Top, like it's pretty healthy ice
Uh-huh.
cream, but I think I bought like a couple pints of it and I ate them both, so uh, just lost control, you know.
Yeah, yeah, of course, man.
That's what being locked in your house is all about.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy it, man. You gotta enjoy it, especially with the indefinite cancellation.
Right. I mean, God, who knows when anything's gonna come back. You know, I don't know when I'll be fighting, when all this is gonna get cleared up. I mean, we're kind of at the mercy of this virus right now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's go back to the past couple of weeks. You had your first fight with Hyon Barcelos canceled, and then they said they were gonna
Yep.
actually it was postponed. They said they're gonna do it at the Apex, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
postponed.
maybe like a week later they told everybody, okay, the Apex is shut down, no one's gonna do any events there. So I saw that you posted something about that they were gonna move the fight to May. What event was that?
So nothing had been confirmed yet. My manager was more or less just letting me know that my fight was going to be rescheduled, potentially not with Roundy Barcelos, though. It was going to be with someone that was already in America. They had a venue for the next 4 weeks. They needed fighters. Was I interested? I said yes, but I didn't want to fight the 18th because I wanted to make sure I wanted these fights to get up and running before I made a big commitment and spent all the money and did the same thing that I did the 28th. And then lo and behold, my biggest fear was, obviously came through yesterday when I found out that, the UFC card was officially canceled. So it sucks. It sucks because, I think the UFC and the fighters and everyone, we really did want to be the only show in town. You know what I mean? We want to be the only live sports event. And, Dana White and UFC, I think, pretty much had it locked down. They did it. They set it down. And then, ESPN comes in and closes the deal down, which is 100% understandable. Obviously, I'm not at all surprised, but this is just such a crazy time to be an athlete. I think, for me, I know that I'm going to fight this year. As soon as everything gets cleared up, I'm going to fight. But think about the athletes that their season is right now, like. These guys are just not going to get paid this year. They're not going to have anything going on this year. So crazy time to be an athlete for sure. Crazy time to be alive, period.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Anybody in the world. It's not even like just one country. It's not the U.S. It's just every single
Right.
place around the globe. It's insane. But it's getting better, man. That's the
Right.
positive outlook you have to have. It's getting better. They're working on some medical
Yeah.
procedures for it and testing and you'll be fighting. I feel like May might not happen, but June should be like a
No.
positive, outlook.
June. Yeah. Yeah. No. June, July. And the thing is, I gotta assume that as soon as the UFC uh, gets the go ahead, they're gonna be repping shows out, just pumping them out. So, you know, I think their ESPN deal requires them to have so many shows a year. So I could even see the UFC doing like Friday, Saturday shows. I could see more than one live show happening, which means, you know, time for us to stay healthy and stay ready and then make some money, as soon as everything gets cleared up. So I guess I'll sit on my hands and wait till that
You
happens.
already went through a whole camp. You're still training right now. The financial side of it, the financial hit that you took, man, it must be, just another headache, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's a headache, but also I'm patting myself on the back because I've been pretty smart with my money. I've saved most everything I made as an athlete. So I'm not in a position where I'm like stressed and strapped. I've honestly been pretty smart with the money that I made as a UFC fighter. So uh, it could be a lot worse. It could be so much worse. I could be out of a job and have kids and a family and people to take care of. which I think a lot of people around the world are finding themselves in that situation right now. Um, and for me, it could be so much worse. So I'm just counting my blessings. I'm counting my blessings. Obviously, missed out on a big payday. That sucks. But there's going to be another big payday, and I'm not in a position where I'm hungry and don't have a roof over my head. Like, I'm comfortable. I have everything I need. You know what I mean? I can sit this out for a while. So as bummed as I am, I'm feeling equally as fortunate to just be okay.
Where does that come from, the money management? Because you see a lot of athletes, they get paid a little bit, and they want to go get the
Yeah.
Gucci, and they want to get some gold chains and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
some tattoos. That all costs
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, it does. I don't really know. I guess, I don't know. I was poor for so long. I just never really knew what it was to have money. And then I started making good money, and I don't know. I just always, I'm so used to being frugal, and like my girlfriend can't stand it because like we go to the grocery store and I like take stuff out of the cart. I'm like, we don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need this. And, I'm probably pretty annoying to live with and be around, but I'm super, super cheap, and, like, I think if I wasn't now, I'd be like, I'd be crapping my pants because, I'd be wondering how the hell I'd be beating up my neighbors for money.
Definitely, it all works out in the end for you. So it seems like
Yeah.
you don't really have a difficult time staying positive in this situation then, because the stress levels are a little bit lower for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could be so much worse. It could be so much worse, man. My life is exactly what I wanted it to be. Um, and I think part of that is just being a fighter. I think being a fighter and being on this roller coaster, through the last 10 years that I've been an athlete, an MMA fighter. I mean, I've had so many ups and downs, and like if it's taught me anything, it's that just freaking buckle up and hang on, because God knows what could happen behind the corner. Like, you just straight up just never know what the hell could happen in your MMA career and in life. So fighting really prepares you for events like this. I mean, because you got to stay calm and be happy, or you know what I mean. Everything falls apart. So yeah, fighting's taught me a lot about being a person.
Fight Island, this is the place where dreams are made
The
of,
Fight
right?
Island. Yeah, the Fight Island. I haven't honestly. I've been asked like rumors like, where is this Fight Island? Is this really gonna happen? I gotta believe that if he's talking about it, it's gonna happen. I have no idea where it is. It's got to be somewhere, obviously, that there's no like jurisdiction, like people can't, you know what I mean? Somewhere that it kind of be centralized, I guess. So I'm thinking it's probably closer to the U.S., but I mean, I could be wrong. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, even maybe like a U.S. Providence, maybe. I mean, maybe even like somewhere in the Gulf, between North and South America. That would make the most sense for me, just because you have like most of the roster is U.S. and Brazil, so like putting something in between would be the best, like logistically that would make the most sense. But we'll see if that pans out that I'm right. We'll see.
I wonder if it's on Cuba or something. Can people still fly to Cuba?
Privately, yeah, I think they can. I think they can. In the U.S., that's weird. Travel restrictions with Cuba, but I mean, dude, honestly, who knows? I mean, the UFC has the money; they really could, like, purchase a bunch of land. There's a ton of little islands, kind of in the Gulf in that area. Like, the UFC legit could buy, rent, own an island in that area. So anything's possible. Like, I don't care. We can fight. We can fight in my backyard. Let's just get it done. Set the camera crew up.
Yeah, you said earlier, Friday, Saturday. If you have an island, you can do that. Fly everybody in. There's no worry of a crowd, an audience. You just have everybody get ready, line them up, and knock them down, televise them. It's actually pretty interesting to see if that's possible and how they're gonna do it. And it seems like the UFC they're gonna take every precaution to keep everybody safe. I think that's the big worry right now. The MMA media,
Yeah.
that's what they're screaming from the rooftops. It's like, what is the UFC doing? Are you concerned?
Am I concerned? I don't care. You know what I mean? If I fight and I get infected, whatever. I got infected, I'll fight it. I don't care. I mean, that's what kind of being a fighter is about, right? Like you're just fighting, Like I I'm not personally concerned for my own well-being. Obviously, I don't care too much about my well-being. I chose to be an MMA fighter. You know what I mean? Like it's the most dangerous shit I could come up with. But I would be concerned with like other people. You know what I mean? What if I brought a coach and he got sick? You know what I mean? Or what if I went home to see my family and I got them sick? That's the scary part. I was 100% preparing to I was actually looking at remote Airbnbs, because I was gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna fight and then I'm gonna go directly from the fight to a remote Airbnb somewhere. I was looking kind of by Tachi Palace in California, because I was just like, I'm just gonna freaking quarantine myself for a week or something, make sure I'm not sick. But obviously I don't have to do that now. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, but if that does happen, if we're still fighting and this stuff is still like that, prevalent in the U.S., I will 100% do that. You know what I mean? Just to be sure that I can't get anyone sick that I care about.
Definitely. Now, MMA judging has been a topic of controversy, and your last fight was a perfect example of that, right? It's just, I don't understand what happened there. But what do you think is the solution? I look at open judging as something that should be considered. Do you like that concept of having the scores like other sports on the screen with the names, with the judges' names, what their scores are during the fights?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing. Have the scorecards posted. That's a great. I mean, then ultimately you'd be held accountable. And then everyone can be at home could be like, what the F? And then I could know. You know what I mean? I would know, oh shit, that judge really is trying to screw me. He gave that guy that round. You know what I mean? It give the coaches and the fighters some feedback, kind of let them know where and I think it would make for more interesting fights. Can you imagine knowing 1,000% in your heart when you're going into that third round that it's 1-1? I mean, I've been in situations like that in fights. I mean, but that would make for a pretty interesting third round, right? I mean, most of the time you kind of know, you think, there's speculation. But if you really knew, you knew that you were losing going in the third round, or knew that you were winning, or knew that it was close, I think it'd make for more interesting fights. And then another thing I think would be having more judges, right? I mean, just having a larger number, being that there's so many disciplines, right? There's absolutely so many disciplines. Have somebody that's an expert in jiu-jitsu judging, have someone that's a stand-up expert, have someone that's a retired MMA fighter that's a judge, and then you can have the same BS judges that they've been having recently, right? So at least that, and then we can kind of weigh things out. Boxing, they had 3 judges, right? We should not adopt things from boxing, because MMA is so much more complicated than boxing. Boxing, well, it's an awesome sport. I absolutely love watching it. It would make sense that they would have 3 judges. MMA is 20 sports combined in one. We should have, 3 times as many judges. Whether that number, I thought the lowest that number should be is 7. I think seven judges. That way, if there's some kind of tiebreaker, I think that's the lowest number. I think you could even go higher if you really wanted to. And you could get the media involved. You could get there's a lot of solutions. It's just, I don't feel like anybody's really trying that hard to make anything happen, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not really up to the promotions. It's up to the commissions, and the commissions
the athletic
are
commissions
slow. They're like snails.
They don't care
on your backyard.
Yeah, they really are. No, they really are. And the athletic commissions, you know what I mean? They have this much power, and they are going to flex it until they can't. You know what I mean? They hold us back more than anything. The small athletic commissions, especially the ones that don't have a lot of fighting happening, they're probably the worst. Like Nevada, California, they're kind of the forerunners for everything. They get things moving, and then eventually everyone else catches up. You know, these smaller states that don't have as much MMA, man, they're terrible. They're awful. You know, like Washington D.C.
Yeah, definitely.
These guys absolutely suck. I'd be willing to say that to any of them face to face.
Definitely. Now, another hot issue is the rankings. You know, like it seems like guys get dropped down in the rankings without even losing a fight, and other guys stay in the rankings even though they're on 3-fight losing streaks. That is another thing that I'm confused about. Like, what can we do to make sure that the rankings are proper? Should we have the fighters vote every month?
Yeah. Well, that's hard because a lot of maybe fighters aren't paying attention. So and so is your friend. Maybe not the fighters, but there should be more people with a hand in it. Same thing as the judging, right? Like if you get a larger number of people judging, obviously you're gonna have a better idea. You know, if every single person in the world or every person that cares about MMA, if they collectively judge, if they collectively decided the rankings, like the rankings would obviously, you know, some people might not like it, but it would make sense because, you know, it'd be a collective. Like right now, you know, there's two people that I don't know, there's 2-3 people that make up the rankings for the UFC.
There's like a group of
You
like
know,
10
and I
or
don't
something
really
like that. Yeah.
Is it 10 guys? I heard it was in the hands of a couple people that kind of like the hammer fell on. I don't know. And then it's hard. It's hard to say. You know, it's hard to say because people put a lot of weight in the rankings, but obviously the UFC doesn't care that much about them. You know what I mean? Because you got number 9 Jose Aldo fighting number 1 Henry Cejudo. So, like, do the rankings really mean that much to us? Should they mean that much? You know, should fighters even give a shit about them? You know what I mean? Like, literally, the one thing I've learned about being ranked, because I was so hell bent on being ranked soon, I've learned that as soon as you're ranked, you are only fighting really tough guys. That's the only difference between being ranked and unranked. Being unranked, you might fight a guy that just got in the UFC. You know what I mean? That maybe isn't ever going to do shit, and he's going to go 0-3 because there's a lot of guys like that. I mean, that's like 90% of the guys that get in the UFC. But as soon as you get ranked, you're only fighting the best guys. You know what I mean? Since I've been ranked, I've only fought killers. I've only fought the top 10, top 15 guys in the world. You know what I mean? That's really the difference. So, you know, if they want to just do away with the rankings, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Because I know there's like 15, 20 guys on the roster that are really easy handpicked fights for me. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to get any of those guys because, you know, I have a number next to my name. So I'm only going to get, you know, the hardened war criminals that are in the bantamweight division. Those are the only guys I get to fight. You know, I'm not so lucky to, you know, fight, you know, Joe Schmo that just happy to be there. I got to fight, you know, Jose Aldo or Frankie Edgar, or, you know, one of these guys that, you know, for a fact, you get in a cage with him, like he's going to try to kill you. That's the guy I have to fight. So, lucky me.
Well, speaking of the rankings not making any sense, Jose Aldo, he had to pull out because of the visa issues. But the event's not even going to happen. But
Yep.
it seems like they're hell-bent on giving Dominick Cruz a title shot. He hasn't fought in, 3-4 years now? Man, does that?
Yeah.
What do you think of when you see that? When you see the news and you're like, is this even real? Is this just like the coronavirus just taking
real?
over?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Dominic was the only guy that was there. I don't know. You know, so there's a lot of times when I'm like, you know, you go process, they're like, oh, this guy deserved a shot. This guy deserved a shot. I'm like, well, that guy's hurt. And, you know, that guy, you know, fought a bum. Like, he doesn't deserve the shot. You know, like recently they're like, how is Jose Aldo getting the title shot? I'm like, well, Aljamain Sterling should have been number 1, but he was hurt. Peter Yan just beat Uriah Faber, which that doesn't really qualify for like a title shot. And like, who's like one of the absolute number 1 pound for pound best guys in the world, who arguably beat the number 1 guy in the world at bantamweight? It's Jose Aldo. So, I mean, that fight made sense to me when you started like working through the process of elimination. But Dominick Cruz, I'm a huge Dominick Cruz fan, but I can't get behind that. You know what I mean? Like, who is Dominic? How much has this weight class changed in the last 3 years since he's been gone? You know what I mean? Does he really think he's going to come back and compete? Like, I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to get his ass whooped. I honestly believe that. Like, I just think there's too much. Like, everyone's evolved. Everyone can fight from both stances. Dominick, like, everyone can wrestle and, you know what I mean, and strike. Everything he did worked because he was the first one to do it. But now everyone does what he does. Not exactly the way he does, like, but, people can switch stances. Corey Sandhagen is like a better version of Dominick Cruz. So I don't know. It's hard to say. It's just if you got the right, you have the right pull, and it makes sense and they can make money, the UFC is going to do it. I mean, they're a business ultimately. They got to make money. Like, that's the job. They got to put cheeks in seats. So I 100%. I'd never blame the UFC, but obviously as a fan of MMA, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But hell, shit, I'll watch it. I mean, Dominick Cruz, Henry Cejudo. That fight doesn't make any sense, but I would still watch it because they're both awesome. Like, I would love to watch that fight. I have to sometimes separate myself as a fan and as a fighter. You know what I mean? As a fighter, I'm like, that's bullshit. Someone else should get that shot. But as a fan, I'm like, shit, that doesn't make any sense, but it's probably a pretty awesome fight, So it's a crazy sport.
Yes, but one thing on the bright side of it is everything's flipped on its head, so you don't even know if that fight's going to even happen. An opportunity.
No, I don't think so.
Opportunity can come, and you don't know when they're going to get back to doing shows. But when they do get back to doing shows, Barcelos, you might not even be fighting him. And I feel like if you can choose a guy, you probably want a guy higher up in the ranks. And I think that Rob Font fight should be rebooked. Do you like that fight if he's ready?
Yeah, I like the Font fight. I was 1,000% after I fought Song Yadong. It was obvious. We were talking about it like in the locker room after the fight. We're like, Rob Font's next. I've been seeing that fucker all week. I'm like, I'm gonna fight Rob Font next. And I found out that night that he tore his ACL. So I knew that fight wasn't gonna happen for a year. I mean, I'd be happy to welcome him when he comes back. As a person, I have no issue with Rob Font, but as an athlete, I think him calling me out when I was hurt, like, it was a punk move. But when he got hurt, I didn't say a word. I didn't say shit to him, and that's just a difference of character between him and I. So, I'm hoping that he gets healthy as soon as he can, because I think Rob Font's a good fight for me. But even better than Font, I mean, there's other guys I think. I think Rafael Sunsao is a great fight for me. I mean, we'll see if him and Garbrandt are still booked. I don't know. Even Cody Garbrandt could be a good fight. Coming off 3 losses, though, I don't really want to be the guy to fight him. You know what I mean? Like, what does that prove? I think a Sunsao is a better fight. And I don't know who else isn't booked. Being that there's probably a bunch of matchups being made, but with this happening, who knows how bad that got scrambled up. I mean, and if Raoni Barcelos' name comes up again, sure, I'll do that. So there's going to be options for me when everything clears up, and if it's the same option, great. If it's a different option, great. If it's somebody outside the top 15 that no one's ever heard of, great. I don't, you know what I mean? At this point, I don't care. Like, I just had 2 fights get canceled. Like, I'm at the point where I'm just like, all right, I'll just raise my hand. Like, who do you want to fight? I'm like, I don't know. Just put me in there. Let's just fight. At this point, I can't even really be picky. I just want to do it.
Yeah, I guess that's the attitude that you have to have moving forward now with everything in disarray.
Yeah.
Cody, man, appreciate the time. Enjoy the ice cream, enjoy the pizzas, enjoy the hot dogs, hamburgers.
Yeah, not too much, man, because like I say, I can't be 200 pounds, and they're like, hey, you want to fight? I got to be somewhere close. So, yeah, I might enjoy the weekend and then get back to track on Monday.
Definitely, man. Stay safe, man, and continue your
you too.
Your rise, man. I've been watching you for a while, and just like every other guy, you're fighting for it, man. You said it, earlier. Yep. Killers. That division is stacked.
Yeah.
To the tits, like people like to say.
Yeah. Why can't I just be a little bit smaller and fight at 25?
Yeah, man.
Shit, I'd already have a ball.
Well, Garbrandt is looking at that division like there's an easier path to the title over there.
Down. Yeah. He's like, screw this, dude. After all these guys just moved into 35, I don't blame him, man. Cody's down a big guy. He should go down to 25. That actually makes perfect sense. Maybe now that everything was canceled, if in a perfect world, and I'm just going to put this out in the universe right now, Cody goes to 25, I get the Asuncao fight, and I think he's ranked like 4th. That'd be awesome. I'll be in the top 5 in 6 months. That'd be great. So, but we'll see. We'll see.